Well, this is Don Crowe, in the lumbering business.
This is Katie Crowe, box 66, Packard. Has two little girls, Judy and Bethel.
Well, folks, this is the old man. With a great pleasure that this record is made, and I want to ask thee for the thanks of granting the privilege of having this little gathering. I'd like to ask thee to bless this little gathering and see these children, as we're breaking up now, protected to their homes. And may we have this gathering by thy wishes in hereafter.
Was 1946, and that recording was made by my grandpa with a Packard Bell PhonOcord, model 1052. No one really remembers why or how Grandpa, a Jippo logger, came to own such a contraption. I'd heard talk of this machine most of my life. In fact, at 7 or 8 years old, I distinctly remember worrying that maybe my mom was a little confused when she started telling me how Grandpa had a machine that made records. After 30 years, I finally asked to see the thing for myself. When we first dug it out, I'm embarrassed to say it took us a couple of days just to figure out how to open the box. For a while, we thought it didn't work. Then my mom passed on an important fact. It plays records from the inside out, not the outside in. We were all astonished at just how many recordings he'd actually made. There were stories and songs, holiday dinners, first days of school, birthday parties, music from the radio, wedding receptions, and all sorts of other community events. My favorites, though, are the family gatherings, like the one where you just heard my great-granddad talking. Everyone is trying so hard. They struggle to find just the right words, and yet they seem unsure what sentiment, fact, or idea would be worthy enough to be laid down in the grooves of that record for all eternity. They knew someday we'd be listening, but who could have possibly known back then what we'd want to hear them say? What would you want to tell your descendants 60 years from now? Ever practical, Great-Grandpa Jack, who came west in a covered wagon and saw the logging industry go from oxen to helicopters within his lifetime, decided to go for some straightforward facts.
Well, I kind of forgot with the excitement that I'm working for the M.C. Miller Lumber Company, as have charge of the woods at this time, and we've not started to haul logs yet. This, I forgot to announce, this is the 5th of July, 1946, and I'm sorry to say that we was dozing snow on the 3rd of July, 1946. And I'll turn the microphone over now to Donnie, which owns the machine and fetched it up from California.
Well, I was just glad that I could bring it up to make this record as a whole bunch at this time, or give it to the folks so they could play it. Still know they had children around someplace over the country there. Anybody else want to say anything on it? They still got record going.
These days, people share the most intimate aspects of their lives as easily as they might discuss the weather with a stranger across coffee down at the local cafe. Listening to these recordings reminds me of a time I can barely remember when people weren't so eager to tell you about themselves. And this proved to be one of Grandpa's biggest challenges, just getting people to talk.
Yeah, you go ahead and talk, Mother.
Oh, I just thought.
Go ahead and talk. Go ahead.
A lot more record.
All right. Mother, go ahead.
Well, I don't see if there's very much left to say.
Well, it appears that Mother's tongue-tied. She don't know just exactly, I guess, with pleasure and regret that we're going to be separated out soon.
And if the adults didn't give Grandpa enough trouble, then there were the kids. In this clip, Great-Granddad takes over.
All right, Judy. Judy, come on. Come on, Judy.
Get around there.
Come on. Come on.
Get around there.
All right, Cookie. All right, Cookie, come on over here. Cookie, come on. Tell them who you are.
What's your name?
What's your name? Yeah, well, ain't you going to talk to Granddad a little bit? Come on, please talk to Granddad.
Of course it would be my mom who was brave enough to speak up. The same little girl who would grow up to jump out of airplanes, ride steers with us kids, and occasionally bust the men down at the trap club.
Come on, Beverly. Come on, Beverly.
Little Pete lost her sheep. She didn't know where to find them. You go home, they'll come home. One tails behind them.
What's your name?
Beverly.
That's little Beverly. She's got lots of guts, ain't she? Come on.
Grandpa kept trying, though, and over time developed his own interview style. Here, he learns about my Aunt Judy's first day of school.
Do you like your teacher?
Oh, yeah.
What's her name?
Very nice. I don't know.
Didn't she tell you her name?
You might tell me tomorrow.
She'll probably tell you tomorrow, huh?
Okay.
Are you going to study real hard in school?
I don't know why.
You don't know whether you will or not. Well, are you going to like school?
Yes, I think it's very nice
You think it's very nice,
to
huh?
be in school.
I can hear the stirrings of the sassy, headstrong girl who would be the first of us to brave her way to San Francisco. She was killed by a drunk driver in the 1970s as she stood waiting for a bus. You can't measure the value of hearing the voices of lost loved ones from so long ago, but that's not the only thing that's important to us about these recordings. It's also hearing family legends told by those who lived them. In this clip, which was probably captured with a reel-to-reel or cassette recorder in the 1960s or 70s, Great-Granddad tells how he and his brother moved horses from Montana to Washington in 1903. Just boys, they were broke and couldn't afford to pay the toll to cross the Flathead Reservation. They had to get home, though, so they went anyway, and they got caught.
So he started cussing Jim. Went right up to him and started cussing Jim. And he told him, "Put them goddamn horses back off in there." And he started cussing the old man because Jim pulled that old 45 in his face. He looked right down the barrel of her, but he never batted an eye. Just stepped right on and cussed him. Jim told me to punch the horses up. And I started after the horses. I got them on the run and started them going. And it was only a few minutes and Jim caught up to me.
He goes on to tell about a colt that was born the next morning and somehow managed to walk 42 miles as they hastily made their escape. I have trouble believing that's possible, but Granddad wasn't prone to exaggeration, and it's usually only the extraordinary that's ever worth telling. It's those kinds of stories that are the bedrock of our family's long written and oral tradition. But Grandpa Don was the first to use technology to attempt to capture our culture and heritage for future generations. When I listen to the recordings or look at the autobiographies, poetry, pictures, and films, I'm struck by a similar longing that each evokes in me. I want to see those people as they record those records. I want to know what they are saying in those silent films. The pictures and books hold so many secrets. I have so many questions. My childhood was filled with stories where everyone is larger than life and people have names like Portly Buster or Whispering Jim. Way better than anything I ever saw on TV as a kid. Poor Hollywood. How could it have ever possibly competed with a cast of characters like this?